So first of all, it'd be lovely if everyone would like to welcome Mr. Neumann to ICE.
Hello, good morning.
So, Mr. Neumann, welcome, as I say, and it's a bit of a special year for Novomatic this year. I mean, 40 years old, the business is, and so to kick off, what can you tell us about the state of play within the business today? You know, what sort of health is Novomatic in 2020?
I think, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here because the ICE show is our most important exhibition as we are still a European company and 90% of our turnover is made in Europe, and therefore ICE is for us a very good platform to show our product, to network. And it's a special year for us, 40 years of Novomatic. Exactly 40 years ago, Professor Graf founded the company. I think the first contact was to a British slot machine. He installed the slot machine in Austria and he wanted to make some improvements, visited the producer in UK and finally this was the start of Novomatic, and currently we are, I would say, by far the number one in Europe. And here at the ICE show, we are showing on roughly the size of a football field, more than 200 terminals and all kind of technology for sports betting, online, land-based operations. So, yeah, I think it's a great year, and as far as I know, it's the 26th ICE we are participating. So, yeah, it's good to be here.
And 2020 is also your 6th anniversary as a chief executive, isn't it?
Yes, that's
so over these 6 years, I mean, what are your particular highlights as CEO? You know, what were your particular kind of achievements, and then I suppose on the flip side, I mean, what have the disappointments been?
Also, you should never start with a negative one, but I do it because the main topic is regulation. I think the disappointment is simply the regulation for the last, over the last 5 years. Also, in total, we lost approximately 300 million of EBITDA just by regulatory changes in Germany, Austria, and tax increases in Italy. But I think I come later to this topic. The achievement, I think, first of all, I'm proud to be part of the Novomatic family, and whatever I have achieved is not my own, let's say, achievements. This is more or less the job of all the 30,000 people which are working for this company. But we defined approximately 5-6 years ago that we want to be the #1 player in the key markets of Europe, which we more or less have achieved. So UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain, these are the biggest market, and for us, Central Eastern Europe is the 5th big market. On the other side, we had huge transformation programs in Germany where we had to change more than 100,000 gaming machines in the field. We had 3 tax increases in Italy. Each tax increase had an impact on our games because we had to adapt the payout ratio for the games, and we had completely refocused the Austrian market because as in Vienna the gaming was banned, we completely changed the focus to sports betting, and Austria is now in a very good shape. And of course, one of the big trends of the industry is all the topic player protection and responsible gaming. And this is another, let's say, focus of Novomatic. We have founded a special company, also NSBS, also we're losing now the name. As a biometric systems, as Novomatic biometric systems, and this company is especially focusing on biometrics entrance systems for gambling. So these are more or less the highlights. And this year we will have the same turnover like last year approximately. As a group, 5 billion with 30,000 people, and we are operating more than 250,000 machines in more than 2,000 gaming venues. Yeah, so I hope I can continue in that way.
And yeah, I mean, we've got to talk about regulation, not just because of the conference stream, but obviously by being in so many markets, it's like it's something that you deal with day to day. And you mentioned there it had regulations had a hit, have had a kind of cumulative hit on earnings. So with that in mind, so considering these key developments, I mean, what's your impressions on how regulation is evolving? Do you think things are going in the right direction?
Yes and no. I think this industry, only in the 3 key markets, also in Germany, UK and Italy, they are employing roughly 500,000 people, and we are generating billions of taxes for the governments. Unfortunately, most of the governments, they are still separating between online and land-based. Online, as a land-based, they believe that they somehow understand. Online, several countries, they have no idea. They believe if they are regulating the land-based business, that's it. So, best example is Austria. We still have no regulation regarding online. Some countries like Germany, they have introduced now a draft of a new state treaty, which is also, let's say, having both as a land-based and online market in their focus, but it's still not, let's say, perfect, because a distance control doesn't make sense because mobility has no border, and the biggest problem I see that many politicians, they believe that gaming bans is the simple solution, because then their job is done, and then 3-4 times per year they make a big media campaign where they show destroying some slot machines, and then we have written in the newspapers that the politicians are acting against illegal gaming, which is, let's say, just on the surface, because in reality, and once again I take the example of Vienna, we still have 600 or 700 illegal gaming machines, and gaming bans is simply stupid, because we made an interview to our top 10% players in Austria, and the simple question was, what are you doing if gaming is banned? And they simply answered, we will find a way. So the players are always find a way. If there's no legal offer, they will find an illegal offer, and this is the problem what politicians are not really recognizing, and I think that's our job to train them and to educate them in the right direction.
Okay. And then let's focus in a bit in Germany. I mean, obviously it's a significant market, and there are, as you mentioned, there are finally signs of progress. I mean, the third state treaty, I think, took from around 2010 to January this year to actually get implemented. So, and obviously Novomatic and the land-based side is a key player in that market. So, what are your thoughts on the current situation there? It's like, do you feel that we could be moving towards a breakthrough? Do you feel that?
I was participating on a gaming law conference, I think it was September last year, and I had a discussion with the representative from Bavaria, and she told me that she doesn't believe that we will have a new state treaty. So the positive outcome is that we will have one. Mm-hmm. There is also a positive outcome that online gaming will be allowed, because Novomatic, we stopped our online activities. end of last year because of the decision of the highest court that online gaming is illegal. There are still many operators working on it. Another positive aspect is that obviously until June 2021, all online activities has to be stopped. If you continue to offer online gaming, then you will get no permission June 21, which is positive. What is not really positive is they are separating in the online space between sports betting, slots, and casino, which to be honest, I don't understand the background of this decision. There is a betting limit of 1,000 euro per month, which is also not, let's say, very attractive for the players. They have a general suspension system. They are still separating, again, they are separating the online space, they are separating the land-based facilities between sports betting and slots, which also doesn't make sense. So positive and negative. At the end of the day, it's positive because Novomatic is only working in regulated markets, and this German market where the unclear situation, what will happen after 21, was a big, let's say, threat for us because we are making 50% of our result in Germany. So yes, we are happy that there is something coming. It's not perfect, so yeah, positive and negative.
Okay. And so do you feel there's any sort of optimum model for a gaming regulation, either for the land-based side or the online side? Is there any sort of a jurisdiction that you feel has got it right, as it were? Or is there things that you feel the regulators and governments perhaps missing when they're devising regulations?
So for me, there are two major topics. The first is that the regulation has to be fair for all participants. It has to be fair for the operators. It has to be fair for the government and for the players. Also, it has to be attractive for the players because we are still talking about entertainment, and it has to entertain the people. And the other big part for me is the world is going into digitalization, and you cannot separate land-based and digital. What I already mentioned is that the distance control doesn't make sense in the online space. What is very important for me is the access control, especially for minors, also both in the online space and land-based. I'm also rather voting for a central suspension system, and there has to be very strict laws against illegal gambling. And this is also, let's say, very critical with all these activities of the online operators from Malta or from somewhere, where sometimes the local governments have no real opportunities to act against them. So if you put all the puzzle stones from different countries together, maybe you would get the optimal regulation. But currently, I don't know one country where you really have an optimal regulation. I think you need a regulation because for me, this player protection issue is very important because this is somehow securing the industry, but it has to be to a specific limit and not to send the players to the illegal markets.
It's interesting you mentioned player protection there, because I was keen to kind of get an idea, just to finish off my questions, about what this kind of means to Novomatic, for a business of your size, with your customer base, so how important is this, to the functioning of the business?
Regulation and player protection is key for us. Also, one of our principles is that we are only operating in regulated markets. Corporate responsibility, player protection is really key, and a lot of license authorities they are requesting it. For example, in Nevada, when we had our interview there, the chairman of the license authority asked Professor Graf, what are you doing for the society? What are you doing to protect addicted players? So this becomes more and more important, and we are the first gaming company which is G4 certified. So not only Novomatic AG, also the 11 biggest counters of Novomatic. G4 was introduced by 2003 by some player protection experts, and they have a very strict audit process. They are auditing all player protection rules, all access control issues, and so on. How we train the people, and there's a recertification every 2 years. So this is really something which is not easy to get, but for me it's part of the business in the future. And by the way, coming maybe to your last question, in my opinion, there should be also a certification for operators in the online space and land-based, because I think, and this is something which is important, I think you have to separate between the good ones and the bad boys. Yeah, and for us it's really serious, and once again we have this company now, the biometric systems, which put a special attention on player protection and, let's say, future-oriented ways to protect players from addiction.
Okay. Yeah, that's all from me. So I was wondering, does anyone in the audience have anything they would like to ask? We have a microphone roaming around. Someone down the front there. Hannah. Hi there. Oh, and sorry, we've got one up here. We've got is that David up there?
It is.
Oh, yeah. No, everyone's name.
In Germany, isn't Novomatic better placed as a B2B player than consumer-facing operators? Because it looks like state operators are best in position to get the casino contracts. So doesn't that make a B2B operator like Novomatic in better position to partner with state or quasi-state entities?
So it's what you're saying, David, is Novomatic potentially going to look to partner, like, say, the state lotteries, so say under the terms of the state treaty, if the lotteries exercise their option to hold the monopoly for the kind of bank holder games. Is that
for private companies? It looks like the option is better to be a partner than get. Yeah, it seems less likely they're going to win a contract to do online casino in any particular state. So is it Novomatic better placed than GVC or Bet at Home?
I don't exactly which direction your question is, but we are also operating several casinos in Germany. And for example, in this casino online business is only dedicated to casino operators. Partnering with lottery companies in Germany, it's impossible because they are living in their own world. They are not, let's say, not really our friends. Yeah, but that's the reason why, in my opinion, it will not work, and it, in my opinion, doesn't make sense to cooperate with lotteries.
okay?
They still are these old-fashioned governmental managed organizations. This is very difficult, as we know from Austria, so we will not touch it again.
And we've got another question, Hannah down here at the front.
I'm curious as to what you think the effect of regulation is on the business model of operators. Yesterday's leaders panel seemed to suggest that the imposition of regulation would inspire them to look to other markets and diversify where their business was positioned. So, for instance, if regulation in the UK was very, very difficult, they perhaps needed to transfer some of their business elsewhere and make up for the difficulties in some of those markets. You are talking about only operating in regulated markets, and you, interestingly, also spoke about entertainment as being a sort of keystone of the business. And so I'm curious as to what you see the business model being under a more highly regulated sector. Does entertainment become a bigger focus than perhaps the way that gambling was viewed previously when there was looser regulation? I wonder whether you've got some insight on sort of how people should be positioning their businesses going forward under a more regulated regime.
As we are, so currently we are distributing our products to 70 countries, and I think we are nearly in each European country active as an operator where gaming is allowed or regulated. So regulatory changes and regulatory environment is nothing which is really new for us or surprising for us. So there's no reason why to move to other countries. We are nearly everywhere. US is another focus of Novomatic, which is quite difficult. For me, the big question is if we take now Germany, and this is, I think that's the objective of the whole industry, that we are, let's say, educating the responsible people in the governments that the people will always play. Let's say this is entertainment, and you cannot forbid people. So if you take the fun out of gambling, they will go to the illegal market. So at least, we have made this research in Austria, and roughly 10% of the players, they are generating 70-80% of the turnover. And if you ban gaming, you can maybe 50% of the players will not come again, but these are the 50% which are coming maybe once or twice per year. The other people, they will either go to like in Vienna, they are going to Bratislava because this means half an hour drive, or they're going to the illegal market. And this makes it so difficult because the interesting part is when you talk under four eyes to politicians, they fully understand the gambling industry, but in public, unfortunately, they have a completely different opinion. And what I always, when I talk to politicians, I would say the 20% which are negative towards the industry, they are generating 80% of the media awareness, and that's our problem. So I think it's an ongoing discussion with them and talking with them and convincing them. It's difficult, but you should never give up.
And I think that's all the time we have. So, Mr. Neumann, thank you very much, and everyone would like to thank Mr. Harold Neumann for speaking to you this morning.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.